So the whole restore the Snyderverse movement has hit a bit of a standstill. Obviously, we have Army of the Dead coming out this week with Zack Snyder. It came out last week in some theaters. He directed that film, and we're not really sure what the status is of the future of the Snyderverse. But with the AT&T sale and what's been going on over there, and the fact that they cut their dividend in half, I've done some investing videos on that. I'm not really too happy with AT&T right now. I'm really not. And while what appears like their live action division is hitting a bit of a standstill, a bit of a lull, it's kind of been trashed for a while, if we're being honest. I mean, they've had some good movies, but they have no direction. We've talked about this already. The animated department is still cooking. Now, I have two announcements to go over today with y'all. But I first want to say that if you're new to the channel, subscribe. And also, I have been doing reviews for all of the DC animated movie universe films, the ones in the shared movie universe. I've been doing reviews on those every week or every 2 weeks. I just did mine on Batman versus Robin, so check that out. I'll leave a link at the end of the video. And check out the ones I did all the way going back to Justice League Flashpoint Paradox, because I'm going to be doing all of them on the channel, reviewing all of them. But discussing film, broke this story. We got two bits of news to talk about. A new animated series, Batman Caped Crusader, is in the works at HBO Max. Bruce Timm, Matt Reeves, and J.J. Abrams are developing the series, which they describe as a re-imaging of the Batman mythology. So, this is good news. Some are going to say, well, it's not so good news because J.J. Abrams is involved. And Matt Reeves has worked with J.J. Abrams before. In fact, they started together on Felicity, and I think they did Alias, or maybe I'm thinking of Lost. It was one of those shows. It's been so many years, but J.J. Abrams has not been too kind, or has not been looked at too kindly by the nerd community after Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, and the fact that the guy is very hit or miss. But Matt Reeves has had a pretty good catalog of films. I mean, he did do the Planet of the Apes trilogy, the one with Caesar, with Andy Serkis. And of course, Bruce Timm is most famous for being the guy who produced and popularized the old DC cartoons like Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, and the old Justice League and Justice League Limited shows, among other movies. And so this story, you know, Batman Caped Crusader, I mean, I'm honestly not, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I see some people already saying, nah, it's going to suck. You don't know if it's going to suck. You don't know. I mean, with Bruce Timm, Matt Reeves, and JJ working together, obviously Matt Reeves and JJ both know that Bruce Timm has the most experience and the most success of any of them working with Batman. And JJ Abrams has been brought in to kind of reshape the DC universe. Some think it should be Zack Snyder, but whatever. Neither one of them are my favorite filmmaker, but I also like a lot of their movies too, so I'm kind of in the middle there. Excuse me. But Bruce Timm being involved, not everything he does is cash, but him being involved is pretty cool. So I look forward to this. You know, it's an animated series, and I'm hoping, based on how this looks, it kind of reminds me of the old Spawn animated series, so I'm hoping it's going to be good quality. I'm sure we'll all watch it on HBO Max. Then we have this announcement earlier today. Fandom says Injustice announced as DC's next animated movie. So, for those of you who are doing Restore the Snyderverse, hey, wait a minute, Fandom follows me. I just noticed that. Why? Alright. Well, anyways, that's cool. Maybe I'll follow them back. Anyways, Injustice being announced as DC's next animated movie. So, obviously, if you looked at Zack Snyder's notes for what he wanted to do with the DCEU, the plan was to eventually do a version of not really the same thing as Injustice, but with having an angry and evil Superman controlled by the anti-life equation, Darkseid, and have him sort of become this major threat. The Injustice storyline, you know, is one that is pretty popular and well known. And obviously yesterday we saw Batman The Long Halloween Part 2, the trailer, And I look forward to seeing part 1 and part 2 at some point later this year. But the sneak peek of the movie will be including the special features of Batman Long Halloween Part 2. So, Injustice will be the next DC animated movie. So if you were looking forward to seeing the Injustice storyline in Restore the Snyderverse, in the Snyderverse, which I'm probably going to put the hashtag in the title of this video, I feel like you're not going to get the same thing. But you are going to get something at least somewhat similar. And in the past, DC's animated department has been taking W's. I mean, historically, DC's animated department has always done fairly well, you know? And obviously, we don't know who's involved in the making of this film. We don't know who's actually doing this. Like, we don't know who's directing it yet. I haven't looked at the details of this yet, but the next big DC animated film is going to be Injustice. So they're willing to go ahead and tell that story from the animated department, but they're not willing to let Zack Snyder do it. Which again, that goes back to telling me that, and I know that it's apples to oranges in some ways, but clearly based on interviews we've seen and press releases, DC has had a real problem with Zack Snyder, whether it be his direction, his rebellious nature. I don't know. I'm not an expert on what happened behind the scenes, but even he has kind of hinted at, you know, the fact that these guys have not always been too happy with him for whatever reason. And I feel like, you know, at least they're going to tell the story here, or a version of the story. Because I have not read the Injustice comics. I know Injustice based on the video game, Gods Among Us, right? I know that. But now we're going to see it. And if it's anything like most of the DC AMU movies, or even the quality DC films, they tend to be as good, if not in many ways better than the Marvel. Actually, I like DC's animated department more than Marvel's, if I'm being honest with you. I think DC lends itself to being animated better than Marvel does, you know, if we're being real. So if you take the Batman announcement plus the Long Halloween film, which looks really good, and then the announcement of that new Batman animated series, which I'm hoping is like the Spawn animated series, kind of reminds me of that, on top of this announcement right here, I think that's pretty cool. I'm on board. I really am. I think that I think this could work, honestly, and I think I don't know. I think that they're still cranking out projects, and they're not. Obviously, we have the Suicide Squad movie coming out, but besides that, they are cranking out work, and because they're putting in work, I, for one, am looking forward to it. What do you think about these announcements? Let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to y'all real soon.